Hello, hello. How you all doing? It's Thursday. Awesome. Really, Rick? How long were you thinking about that one? You're just dying to type that, weren't you? Go figure. I don't know. I don't know. Is that really what we've come to? Good to see you all. And yeah, we're gonna have a nice session today. Let's see. I think we're going to start with a couple of 15s and then maybe ramp up for number 3 and 4 and then slow down, or do a faster pose for the final one. Does that make any sense? Okay. Let's get cracking. Hope everyone's doing well on this fine Thursday. It's almost the weekend. Oh, my primos came. Oh, let me change my camera angle. Got a box of these primos. This is the Euro Blend Charcoal 3B. First thoughts, I worked with it last night actually. I was teaching a live figure drawing class, can you imagine, last night. And I drew with this last night. It was my first time. Kind of like it. Honestly, it feels like the old 6B regular Generals. But it's nice and smooth. Works well. So I'm going to work with this today. We'll see. They'll probably all break at some point. But we will give it a go. But so far, no scratchiness, so that's good. Sorry guys, I'm just covering something on the other screen there. Okay. Cool. Let's start with a 15. Let's get cracking, huh? I also want to play around with technique a little bit today. For those of you who've already kind of gone ahead and looked at the reference, all the poses, you will have noticed that there is a close-up for pose number 3. That's because I want to focus personally, anyway, on the legs and the feet on that one. So that's why I gave a zoom in, a close-up for that one. Because Monday is going to be, I'm going to say a foot special. We're going to just focus on the foot. We're going to do a quick anatomy overview of the foot before we start, and then we're going to draw feet poses for the whole session. So that should be interesting. I think I'm going to do that just for the next few weeks. Let's see. I'm going to make one of the sessions something a little bit different. Obviously, the last one we did Michelangelo, which was fun. I'm going to do more of those. Maybe different artists. But yeah, I wanna do feet. Maybe the following Monday, maybe we'll do hands. I don't think you can ever get too much hand practice. So this leg coming towards us. You can see that tensor fasciae latae just kind of bulging here, which is interesting. Obviously coming down and meeting with the iliotibial tract coming down this way from the gluteus maximus. Loving these new ideas. Thanks, Margot. Yeah, it'd be a bit of fun, right? Foot or meter? Rick is on form today. Everyone, please keep an eye on Rick's messages. That feeling we're in for some gold. All right. Obviously, we've got quite dramatic lighting in these poses, and there is a fair bit of stuff that's kind of either hard to see or slightly obscured from view. So, you know, we're going to have to kind of figure things out as we go. Linda, we are working from, if you go to the reference page, which I think you found last time, right? We're working from the reference at the top of the page under today's date. Now she's got this interesting ribbon that she's suspended from, so we need to include that. Do you watch Marvel or DC movies or comics? Ask Hemant. Hey Hemant. Yeah, I have watched them. I wouldn't say I go out of my way to watch them, but they're a bit of fun, you know. But I wouldn't say, you know, I'm waiting for the next installment with bated breath or anything like that. I think like many people, well, I can't even say I've got Marvel fatigue because I don't watch enough of it to really say that, but it's not something where I go, oh, that looks fresh and interesting and new when I see an ad for it, you know? And I think they've flogged it to death a little bit. They've taken away the novelty. They're aware of that. I think when Iger came back, he kind of put the brakes on it all, right? Which I think was probably a good idea. Yes, this pose would be impossible live. You're correct, Rick. They could probably hold it for what? Realistically? Well, it depends how she's suspended there, but it doesn't look comfortable. Let's be realistic. You know, you're probably not wanting to hold this for more than 30 seconds. Do I have kids? Asked Michael. Yeah, I've got 3 kids. All grown up. And none of them really into figure drawing. Although the youngest is training to be a tattoo artist, so you know, there's some art going on. I said 15, didn't I? Oh, good Lord. Saw someone say something about AI and hands. Oh, even AI is now better with hands than me, says Camille. Well, Camille, isn't that awesome that we get a chance to draw them and talk about them and hopefully demystify them on some level. Can you do some rendering? Yeah, no, I'm going to do some rendering, like probably minimally on this pose, just because it's a shorter pose, but when we get to the longer ones, I want to do some, I want to kind of do some light and tone, get into it a little bit. Now, what am I going to do lighting here? Let's see, I think it needs one of those conceptual light passes. Yeah, let's do that. Which way will I bring the light? Okay. It's okay. Next question. What would you have become in the future if you're neither an artist nor musician? Well, there's a loaded question that I've never really thought about. God, I have no idea. Honestly, as I mentioned before, my experience with education as a young person was so bad that there were really no other options. Ah, this has all gone to hell. This drawing. Like the foundation of the drawing's okay, but I've kind of messed up with the rendering. I kind of half-assed it and it's not working. And I've run out of time. And I didn't want to spend time on these poses because I want to really, as I said, I want to spend the time on the other poses. Ugh, this is awful. Okay. It's an absolute mess. Serves me right. All right, what a disaster. Let's move on. Yikes, not off to a good start. Just using red on this pose in particular might be kind of cool. Yeah. As soon as they invent a red charcoal, I'm in. I could use red pastel, I guess, something like that. What an awful drawing. There's one for the kitty litter, exactly. Oh, I thought that's what you said, Lulu. I thought you said one off to the kitty litter. You said one line of off kilter, and there goes the sketch. It wasn't even the line, it was the tone that fell apart on that one. How are you feeling about the pencil on first crack? Yeah, not that the drawing would reflect it. I liked them. I like them. They're good. Yeah. Yeah, let that drawing be no reflection on the pencil. All right, let's move on. Drawing looks nice to me. Well, thank you, Michael. You're very kind, but not really my what I try to aspire to do. What could have been the cause of the bad experience in school? I know exactly what it was, or a large part of it was, if I'm perfectly honest, without getting too personal, I had parents that were not academically minded or put the kind of effort in that I really could have used. I think I probably had a bit of ADHD or something like that, and I could have used parents that could have helped guide me more, but neither of them came from academic backgrounds, so it wasn't a priority. It comes back to that thing I've talked about many times about it wasn't until I became an adult that I had teachers that taught me that you can learn how to learn. So consequently, I performed very badly in school. I also found the school curriculum incredibly one size fits all. I think we've all can relate to that on one level or another, and I know that it's changing these days. I'm going to start the next pose, but back in the day, oh, wrong one. There we go. Back in the day, and I think still to this day, school and the academic system is very much geared about whether you're good at taking tests. I keep doing it. There we go. And if you're not a good test taker, then you fail. And you know, I think we've since kind of we've come to understand that there's many forms and different types of intelligence. But back when I was going through the school system, if you performed the way I did, you were just considered to be not very bright. And they then kind of treated you accordingly. So yeah, I had a really rough time at school. Probably one of the reasons why I actually like to educate now and teach is because I hopefully understand what it's like to, you know, have gone through the system the wrong way. But to answer your question, the question about what would I have done, you know, it's hard to say, but as an adult looking back, you know, if you'd got to do it all over again, so to speak, I kind of like the idea of maybe going into medicine. Like, you know, being a surgeon or something like that, I think would be a very interesting path to take. And after the experience I had last year, I have nothing but the utmost respect for all that those people do. You know, they'll claim, well, it's just my job, or it's my job, but, you know, saving people's lives literally on a daily basis, I think that could be pretty fulfilling work. I know you're also losing people. It's not all one-way traffic, unfortunately. But yeah, maybe I would have gone for something like that. an interesting thing going on where this torso is actually kind of going away from us, and then this part is coming towards us. Be careful we don't break the anatomy when we're fleshing this out. All right, Miko. We got new members. We're a new member. That's awesome. Yeah, welcome. Did you have opportunities to do art in school at all? I remember a young man in our school who obviously had the gift. I was so jealous. It kind of, sort of, there was the opportunity, but no art teachers that were really either very good or very inspiring. No, that was another thing, that it was largely just my own curiosity into art that led me down the path that I went. It wasn't thanks really to any influence from a teacher. It's really dire, like sounds really dire, doesn't it? I don't mean to be, but sorry, I'm trying to catch up with stuff. Yorkshire Gold, your tea? You're getting the tea now? Awesome. I might be dealing with ADHD, says Michael, in the process of assessment. School always bored me, but I always barely passed. You went to uni, yeah. Well, sorry, I'm jumping around with the comments here. I'm just trying to catch up. Yeah, I never made it to university or college. Yeah, I hear you, Lily. Happy moments in school. Worst dates of my life. Never understood that saying. Couldn't wait to leave. Exactly, Margot. Margot says, it was well into my mature adult years that I learned that you could actually learn how to draw if you worked hard enough. I've always maintained, when people say to me, oh, I can't draw, or I would never be able to draw, it's like, I categorically resist that as a statement. I think it's all about, no, you don't want to draw. If you wanted to draw and learn bad enough, you would learn. Look, are you ever going to be the greatest in the world? Maybe not, but it doesn't mean that you can't be a very respectable artist doing great work. Like, you know, what does that even mean? It's like you need to just create what resonates with you. some of the best surgeons are psychopaths, from what the internet offers, just almost factual enough to not be obliterated by how high the stakes are. Interesting. Never thought of it like that. So we've got compression right here on the oblique iliac crest, so right here. Now obviously there's the rope too, and I will draw that and indicate it in a minute. Right now she just looks like she's kind of flying through the air. Lucas says, I did a bit of hand gesture drawing this week and found it really helpful for finding those initial lines. Oh yes, yes. Well, we'll talk all about feet and hands over the next couple of weeks. Grateful for those good docs you had in... No kidding, you and me both, Margot. Yeah, you know, it was quite the relief when I met my surgeon, and just he exuded confidence without arrogance, if that makes sense. There was a calmness and a confidence about him which I really needed at the time, and he was absolutely brilliant. I was incredibly lucky to get him. I'm going with once again a conceptual light for this, because the lights, the two light source thing, you know how I feel about it. So I'm just going to kind of make up my own. Right, we need to establish this. What do they call these things? Obviously it's a ribbon, but it's more than that. There's got to be a technical name for this. And I'll hear it and go, of course that's what it's called. And that's coming around this way. And she's kind of just sitting on it there. Actually, I think it's wrapping around her leg, like so. I think that must be how it's supporting her. I did a decent sketch of a woman with a hand up near her face yesterday. I botched the hand up so bad it made me start practicing hands. You know, Rick, isn't that a shame? I think we've all got those drawings in our collection of the drawing had real promise and then something like a hand or whatever it might be, just it was the thing. That kind of wrecked the drawing. It happens. It's not nice when it happens, but look, at least you were you were trying, taking a chance. Pale spice. I took pottery in high school because I was convinced that drawing took a natural talent. Pottery could be learned. I was not the brightest of children. No, you know what, Pale Spider, that's, don't be unfair to yourself. I can completely see why you could make that assessment in your own mind, especially if you're not being guided. I think that's a very kind of natural response. Well, I'm not going to be the best artist. Why am I bouldering then? It's a question we've all been asking ourselves behind your back, Doug. It's like been the running theme. It's like, why is Doug bothering? Oh, that's so mean. Well, you kind of asked for it. Done. All right. Let's move on to pose number 3. Dean says, all these dark shadows are really showing me I need to develop a better understanding of anatomy. Getting a bit stumped. Here's the thing, Dean. You very well might need to study more anatomy. That's a fine statement. But I think it's really important to understand that what you're dealing with here is actually, if you go with the lighting as it is in the reference, you're really setting yourself up for a major challenge, because you've got a light source obviously coming from both directions, roughly of equal intensity, and roughly at the same angle. So we have this dark shadow running down the center of the form, which is just about the worst way that you can have the shadow, frankly. It's why I shifted to just having light source coming from one direction, from this side coming in, and I've ignored the light source coming from this way entirely, because then I can model form in a logical way, right? Thinking about a box, you got the one side of the box, and then you got a turn, and then you got the side that's maybe in shadow. Kind of same thing here. This is the lit side of the form, this side and this side, and then we've got a turn of the form, and we're going into tone. Much, well, not only easier, but this is a much more logical way to show the viewer form than to try and replicate what's in the reference. I wouldn't even try and replicate that, because I know it's going to look weird. It's just going to look weird. There's no way to pull that off in my mind, or at least the way for me. I hate this lighting. I just realized I put the left cheek in front by mistake. Well, it certainly makes us analyze. And look, it's a good opportunity to practice conceptual light, right? So you can look at it that way. Just ignore one of the light sources. You can choose which one. Wait till we get to the next pose. It's a doozy. And we've got that same problem. It's why on this pose I'm going to focus in on the legs. for me, it's more about I want to draw the legs and the feet on this pose as much as anything. It's like I'll come up with some kind of lighting that makes sense. So the drawing after this is a close-up of these legs. So if you want to focus in on the legs, I'm going to draw in like roughly the kind of the main bulk of the form, and then I'm going to personally I will then move to the close-up of the legs for the detail. Tina says, Richard, is the side of your hand resting on the paper? I'm trying to change the way I hold the pencil, but struggling for control. No, well, in spite of the fact that it gets dirty, maybe that would be evidence to suggest, yes, my hand is resting on the paper, but it's really not. That is the product of my hand brushing against the paper occasionally. If my hand was resting the whole time, obviously I would just, with charcoal, I would just be smudging everything as I went. So the idea, Tina, is that you really kind of want to be holding the pencil on a slight, you see I don't have a camera at the perfect angle, but basically, here let me just go to my main for just 1 second. Basically you want to be holding the pencil kind of like, imagine that my hand, palm of my hand is the paper, you're holding the pencil kind of like this, right? So yeah, your knuckles are occasionally going to brush against it or whatever, but the idea is that the hand is free floating. It's not like if we're holding like this and we're just kind of like pivoting off the, you know, the ball of the wrist kind of thing. You don't want to do that. Okay. Doug says that's my inner voice. I've learned not to pay too much attention to it. I tell you why you're bothering. Because everything in life that's worth doing is difficult. And you're working towards something. Look, I'm never going to be the greatest of many things. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to do them, right? You know that. You know that. Yeah, I agree. The art direction on these poses is lovely as far as the red and against the grey and that. It's really nice. Butt floss. Rick. Yeah, kind of. Ariel something or other. Yeah, I think that's right, Rago, right? Sorry, I'm way behind on the messages. Let me just catch up real quick. Maybe not question. Do you think an art forger can be a good teacher? Sure, why not? Yeah, I would imagine. If they're a good art forger, means that they've got a very analytical approach of being able to dissect the style and replicate it, right? So they're probably good at really good at deconstructing the process from the finished result, right? It's almost like a detective. That's the final result. What were the steps it took to get there? So yeah, I'd say a forger could potentially be a very good teacher if they're a good person. I think you kind of need to be a good person to be a good teacher, maybe. Maybe not. It's a dental reference. It is indeed. Yeah, good, Dean. Yeah, think of it that way. The white rag. These start off grey, in fairness, Lulu. I dare you. These are grey rags. These are from Target in the States. They're in the flannel section. For anyone who wants to get them, you get a 5-pack for like $4. And I literally had my daughter, when she was moving back from the States, I had her bring some packets of these with her because they're my go-to grey rag. Very good. I'm glad it helps, Tina. Good. Thinking is difficult. All right, I'm going to get going on this pose. Can a bad artist be a good art teacher? I'm thinking probably yes. It's about communication. Very interesting question, Rick. I would say that you could be a good teacher to a point, but I think you're gonna hit a ceiling pretty quickly on what you're able to teach, right? It is about communication, absolutely. But I think there's a difference between, like, you know, could you be a competent artist and be a good art teacher? Absolutely. Could you be a bad artist and a good art teacher? I think that's a bit of a reach. Is there some famous art forger on YouTube that has a show explains how different artists? I'm sure there is, Margot. I'm sure there is. I've never checked it out, never looked for it. Yeah, I think, Margot, you're making a really good point. You've had some great artists teaching workshops that couldn't teach worth a hoot. Yes, I've had those too. Yeah, Tina, I agree. You'll only get better. Probably there is a tipping point, but yeah, I think your active years are much longer, right? Okay, I really need to start drawing. People didn't come here to watch me read comments. Okay, so I'm not going to draw this whole arm that she's holding on with her right arm. I'll suggest it kind of at the shoulder, but I want to leave the real estate for the good stuff. So I'm going to bring the upper torso down this way. And then I'm going to let the... oh, this music is the worst. Talk about elevator music. Okay. If you understand the inner workings of art enough to explain them, you would be capable of teaching by default. I actually don't know if I agree with that, Lulu. I'll tell you why. Because a lot about teaching, because reading a subject is not the same as doing a subject, right? You can read 100 books on judo. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to get on the mat and do anything with judo, right? And I think that there is a problem just generally with learning something that you think, oh, I'll just read the books and they're just by default. It comes down to practical practice. The problem is if you understand something, the inner workings of art, just coming back to your statement, enough to explain them, what you won't be able to do is problem solve. You might be able to explain a series of facts that you've got down, that you've kind of internalized, but it doesn't mean that you truly understand what it is. And I don't think you can understand that truly until you've put it into practical use. Because you don't understand, you're never going to understand the pitfalls or the things to look out for if you don't have the practical experience. That would be my feeling. Hope that makes sense. Don't want to crap on your point, but that would be my feeling. So many want to teach before they become skillful or experienced in so many industries. Well, the world is rife with that, isn't it, T2? I'll never take a class from a teacher whose work I don't like. Yeah, I would think there's a lot to be said for that, you know, yeah. Did a few times and it was a disaster. Yeah, different visions. Exactly, different visions. Interesting conversations, guys. I like it. That was prime elevator music. Yeah, it was. You're correct. Lulu keeping it real there in the chat. Now, this is too big. I picked the wrong day to sketch in ink. Yeah, you probably did, Rick. Have a bit of fun with it. Yeah, I'm just going to get a general block in here. But ultimately I'm going to move to the close-up pose. For the meat of this. This will get me in the ballpark. This is what I mean by explain. To be able to explain the inner workings, you need to understand them fully. You need the skill to do that in the first place. Right. Yeah. 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 All right. We've got to do something, guys, about the music. This is just we're in a bad situation right now. To find something better. Anything. Let's see what happens. Went to contemporary classical. Could go either way. It's not looking good. I have to get my act together with the music for this stream. Brutal. Okay, so I'm just, yeah. Just large ideas. Actually, interesting. The gluteus is down here. Okay. It's not quite what I imagined. I think my proportions are off here. I need to just think for a second. Let's just use that. Yeah, this is off. Off, off, off. This heel is here. Okay, just have to fix it. Okay, so the rib cage sitting about here. Renee, welcome. Hemant asks how to get the halftones and darks as good as possible. Usually get confused. Well, because once again I'm going to have to probably go with conceptual light on this this image, although this is probably a brutal one to try and explain this process. One of the main things I see people, one of the main kind of challenges I see people dealing with when they're doing light and tone is they try to get too busy with it as a statement. Find what's in light, find what's in shadow, and keep those things kind of separate. And have all the tone when you're starting out and when you're developing the drawing, have everything in the shadow side of the form in the same tone. Don't be trying to chase all the subtle halftones in the shadow side of the form. It's not only will you not be able to do it, but you end up hurting the drawing doing that. You really want to find the large, simple statement. What is going on, basically, in the shadow side, what's going on in the lit side, and just keep it as simple a statement as possible. I see people starting out all the time trying to overcomplicate it. I was guilty of it myself. I know the struggle. But yeah, I can't suggest enough that you resist that temptation. Keep it simple. But yeah, this is a really convoluted pose to be trying to do a clear demo of that process, Hemant. So maybe the next pose or a pose in the future. I think I've broken it down several times already, but Lulu says, Richard, if you want dark synthwave music for whatever reason, check out White Bat Audio. I think I mentioned it in last stream. Goes well with spooky sci-fi art. Alright, thanks Lulu. White Bat Audio. Guy makes royalty-free music, it's really good. Might not fit with your stream's mood, but there are a few different styles mixed in. Let me, just going to write that down quickly. Just so I have it for later. All right. Cool. Foot reference work can't come soon enough. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. As I said, Monday, right? Let's plan on that. That'll be a bit of fun. Hopefully this will all make sense when it comes together at the end. Maybe burn my oatmeal. Yeah, it's a challenge, isn't it? We'll get there. We'll get there. Super awkward angle for just everything. Magic energy just move to the close-up for a minute, and then I'll come back probably to the other pose. Ooh. Such a pig's ear of this. Looks a bit ropey, but I think it'll be okay when we get into light and tone. It's a placeholder. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It doesn't help that we've got a pose this complicated, and we're going to mess with it with the lighting. Inside ankle is higher than the outside. That's just a universal truth. Don't sharpen angry. Wise words, Rick. Okay. Guys talking about manga. It's Lulu, right? Lulu's always on about the manga. Okay. You and me both, Margot. I'm just clueless about most of that stuff. Just gonna go back to the other pose quickly. Now we have our rope, which is really pushing through the form like so. Going in here. And obviously we've got the tension coming across the form here. And coming up this way. Right, something like that. All right. Yeah, so to confuse matters even further, we've got this lighting situation with the two lights, which as I said, I'm going to ignore. So I'm going to go with the light source coming from this direction, this way. Been called out. Yeah, you have. Hey, Rick, can you go through, say, 5 values on this form? Oh, sure. Yeah, you could. We might do just that. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to shadow map now with all of this craziness. Let's do it. So how do I want to treat this? Highlights in this region, right? Yeah, super tricky. We're at 30 minutes. All right, we'll try and get done here in the next few mins. Just put us out of our misery. Next pose is going to be no easier. It's Thursday, come on, we can push through. We're at the gym, right? About to have a very indulgent weekend. So, you know, gotta just go for it. Just saw the trailer. I don't know how long it's been out, but I just saw the trailer for the Joker sequel, the Todd Phillips movie. I am looking forward to that one. All right, maybe. This is just an absolute mess. You know, some days it just comes easier than others. But I'll just do a little bit more here, just pull out some highlights and then we'll move on to the next one. This drawing came out immaculate, ha 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 ha. I don't know if you're talking about your version of it or mine, Michael, but yeah, it's a bit rough. A bit rough. Yeah, it's weird. Like, I honestly feel like whole day just... Some days it just comes easier than others. I'm going to blame myself because I'm going to blame the model. There is no blaming the model, just myself. Unfortunately, it's no longer fire season. I have to find other ways to dispose of these things. Okay, I'm done trying to polish this turd. Let's just get out of here. This is awful. That's it. Yeah, thanks, Lulu. Yeah, I'm not used to the new pencil. It's all the pencil's fault. 100% agree. Well, thank you, Margot. You're too kind. Really, you're too kind. Well, Miko, at the risk of being self-serving, I'm going to say go check out some of my instructional videos on my channel and start coming to the live streams and drawing along. It's a really good place to start. I talk a lot during these streams about core concepts and stuff that's useful for us. And could be a good place to start. Okay, next pose. All right, fresh start. It's a new day. And this is a brutal pose. Oh, thanks, Rick. Yeah, this is a toughie. All right, let's have a look here, because it's Thursday. I think we're all tired. None of us are too keen on getting beaten up too much moving forward here. We've got 35 minutes, give or take. How about we do like 2 15s, huh? Let's do that. I don't have the energy to go long form on this next one. Got any love story, Richard? Can you please tell? Yeah, I've got a love story for you, Hemant. You really want a love story? This feels like I'm going to be sharing way too much. I'm not tired. All right, Rick. Just making me feel bad. No, I'll tell you a love story. So, when I was 16, I got my first job in animation abroad. When I say abroad, it was in Southern Ireland. Obviously, I was from England, right? 16 years old, and I had to go off and live on my own in Ireland. Excuse me. And my mum came with me to Ireland just for like the first weekend while I just kind of, you know, got set up and or just, it literally had never been before and needed to kind of figure a bunch of stuff out, like where I was going to live and all of that type of thing. So my mum came with me. And we got to Dublin Airport and we needed somewhere to stay, right? This was back in the days before cell phones and Google and all of this. This was like late 80s. And so we get there and we go through the directory of places to stay, like bed and breakfasts, right? Like small, usually run in homes and that type of thing, right? So we go through the list. And there's 3 in particular in the general area that we want to be in. And this was, the prices were kind of mind-blowing, but like one was £12 a night, one was £14 a night, and one was £16 a night. So we just thought, well, I thought, let's go with the one in the middle, right? Seems like safe enough bet. So we go with the one in the middle, and we get a taxi into Dublin where the bed and breakfast is, and we go in and the person running the bed and breakfast welcomes us and all the rest and asks us what we're doing there and etc. And then I go into the living room of the bed and breakfast, and there is a girl about my age sitting on the couch just casually watching TV. I don't think she even noticed me at first. Anyway, the woman who ran this bed and breakfast, she was, you know, you're a very typical Irish woman, like very kind of maternal, if you know what I mean. And she was basically said to me, you know, come and have dinner here, like once you're set up to me, you know, you're always welcome here, and just very, very welcoming and very kind. And that girl that was sitting on the couch is my wife, and we have been together for 35 years now. And she was 15, I was 16. We started dating about, I don't know, what was it? Probably about 3 weeks after we first met. And we've been together ever since. And she is the love of my life. So there you go. There is a love story for you, Hemant. Don't say I don't deliver. Yeah. That's how I met my wife. I actually only stayed in Ireland about 3 months that first time. The job was at what we would call the equivalent now. It was the equivalent of like an animation sweatshop. Really. They were at the studio that I was at. They were there because of tax incentives and all the rest, and probably why they hired a 16-year-old me. But you know, the drawing quotas were absolutely ridiculous, and there was no. I didn't have the skills or the you know, the experience to be able to hang in that kind of environment. So I didn't last too long, and I went back to England, and then I actually moved to Los Angeles probably about 7-8 months later on my own. But we continued to date. And then that actually brought me to another job in Ireland, at a studio called Don Blue Studios. I worked there for a while. And I really kind of took that job just so I could go back and be with my future wife. And we eventually, you know, we got married. And the rest is history, as they say. What a twist. There you go. Yeah? Thank you. Thank you, guys. Yes. It is a nice story. Yeah, crazy. Some more weird perspective with this drawing, huh? The fact that the stomach line is so high because of the compression. We're sitting about here. The navel is right there. It's an odd one. Very welcome. A wholesome live. I try to keep them wholesome, generally speaking. Hemant. If you want the opposite of wholesome, I don't even know what that word would be. There's plenty of that to be had on the internet. We can keep things, yeah, a little more gentle here, let's say. I'm softening in my old age, you see. That's what's happening. At the same time, I have my moments. Knee is up here. Which just feels so weird. Yes, agreed. Yeah. There's actually a lot of heavy foreshortening on this upper torso, which is really throwing a spanner in the works. It's also, she almost has this, her right arm kind of hyperextended, if that makes sense. Like it's really pushed way more forward than you might think at first glance. Yeah, you can kind of tell from the way that deltoid is pushing forward the way it is. Very, very strange pose. I like it, but you certainly have to be in the right kind of practice, or the right... You have to be drawing half decently, if you know what I mean. So it's, for some reason, that's not happening today. Anyway, it is what it is. I think I accidentally dislocated her right shoulder. Yeah, I think I did the same, Lucas. What can you do? Well, not dislocate it, I guess. That ship sailed a while ago. Where are we at? 1458. Yikes. Alright. We're going a couple more minutes. I've got to resolve some of these other things. I can't leave this thing quite so abandoned. Just want to problem solve a little bit longer. And we literally can't see a thing that's going on down here. It's like the black is completely just blending the figure into the background. Yeah, I think it's always good to ask yourself what it is that you want to try and say with the drawing. Not always, sometimes that's easier to say than others. Usually there's something, whether I know what the story is that I want to tell, there's usually something that I know that I want to, there's some challenge to the drawing that I know that I want to kind of explore. And that can usually be enough. Alright, let's try and just resolve a little bit more with this. With this knee and... God, we can't see anything. I can't, at least. I really should have considered lighting the shadow side of the image a little bit. Anyway. All right. Where are we at? 6:46. I think that's as good a place as any to call it. Okay. Let's do one last. Which drawing is your favourite of the day? None of them, Rick or Michael. None of them. I don't think I've done anything today which is even half good, honestly. What was the first one? Maybe the best of a bad bunch. Maybe number 2. I guess. All terrible. This one's actually diagrammatically. There's things that are working in here. There's also things that I don't think are working. Do you sign your drawings? I only sign them when there's a chance that, like, I might sell them. Don't usually sign them. Aru, it's 11 p.m. You gotta go to sleep. Fair enough. Well, rest well. See you next time. I was having fun up until now. I'm glad one of us was, Rick. I've enjoyed the conversation. The drawing has been brutal today. All right. What's with the music? This isn't a Pixar movie. Get out of here. Okay. Thank you, Margot. All right. Let's tie a bow around this session. We've got one more pose. We'll take it to the top of the hour, so like 12 minutes or so. My pet peeve is when people sign really bad art. There are some people that just sign everything. It's an interesting kind of thing. Maybe it's not a terrible thing. I don't know. Yeah, it had that energy, didn't it? Okay, last pose. Let's do it. Not the worst pose for us to have to finish up on. Not the easiest either, but it's not the worst. Iliac crest is actually sitting super high up here. rib cage is sitting roughly in there. Shoulder, scapula sitting about here. There's a bar coming across like so. There's another one of those with some weird angles, weird perspective. Right, gotta try and work quickly enough here. Yeah, it's definitely a bit of distortion here, for sure, Lulu. Didn't we draw this before? Different angle. There was, yeah, this is, it's similar. It's similar to the pose that we did before, Margot. Yeah, actually, I think the last one was probably easier because it was a little bit more kind of straight on. You know what I mean? Thank you, Hemant. Well, once again, I believe that there are landmarks that I'm using, but no, I don't do the plumb line or the grid or any of that nonsense. So I don't like that approach. I'm actually going to have to pull this up a little bit there because my measurement was off from the original. Actually, let's come across the form here. she's actually got like some kind of cushion or something she's kneeling on, which is affecting the overall volume of that leg. Cylinder markers on bottom legs would go in the opposite direction? No, I don't think, well, I'm not sure in opposite direction to what, T2. Like, the reality is, you know, all of these forms are coming towards us. They're all cylinders kind of coming in this direction, right? Like, yeah, this is going in a slightly different direction to this, but it's still ultimately doing this, if that makes sense. Speaking of which, will we give a portrait drawing stream a go at some point? Yeah, you know what I want to do, Lulu? I was actually thinking about this just today. So we're going to do hands and feet, right? We're going to, as like the first, let's say, stream of the week. We're going to, for the next couple of weeks, we'll do feet on Monday. The following week we'll do hands. And then what I'd like to actually do is maybe go in and start hitting noses, let's say, and then ears, eyes, mouths, almost kind of as separate ideas, like the way that we would look at feet or hands as separate ideas. And then we'll look at bringing it all together, if that makes sense. Because I think, you know, it's so easy for a face to go wrong. There's so many different elements, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, there's a lot of structure to just say to just like the nose, for example. I think it'd be really nice to explore and do a deep dive of each idea. And then, yeah, then to do maybe some portraiture or something. Okay. Yeah, Margot, it's really important. Margot says, I find it difficult when the models in a live session have a cushion or something like that, which does appear to change the volume of the body. We have I think we've discussed before the idea of hidden forms, right? And drawing through. And I think that that's really key for us to hopefully have success, is draw through the form right? This is where having built and be thinking three-dimensionally, right, volumetrically, is really going to hold you in good stead, because you'll know that there's that volume and that mass is there. And I would actually encourage you to kind of draw through as if the cushion, let's say, is see-through, like, so, you know, you can see through it, something like that. Then you could draw your cushion line on top, something like that, and it's just going to it's going to just feel like it's going to feel more solid, right? It's going to, because there's going to be the understanding of what's actually going on with the volume underneath. So I would always encourage you in that case, draw through the hidden forms, you know, where it's practical, obviously. But that's super important. Comes back to that thing of us trying to understand where a volume has come from and where it's going to, right? That kind of idea. Okay. $15. 7 o'clock here, 7:05 in the evening. Yeah, my foreshortening's a little bit off there, but close enough. Close enough for a session that was a bit of an uphill struggle the whole way. That we'll do the Monday oddball task streams. Yeah, I for a while. Here's the thing. Let me just be very open and transparent with you guys, as I try to always be. You know, we do 2 streams a week. You know, back in the early days, at least for a while, it was 3 streams a week, which is kind of crazy. It was Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for a minute. That was not sustainable. Here's the thing though, we have 2 streams a week. Obviously each one goes a couple of hours a time. And I've done, as you guys know, we're on what, number 135 of these things. And I want to continue doing these for as long as it feels feasible, right? And right now it feels very feasible. But I also have got to try and keep a way, I've got to find a way to just keep things fresh, keep things interesting, not only for myself, but for you folks too, right? And there might be some people that are just joining us now that are like, no, all I want to do is just draw the full figure every session. I appreciate that, I really do. But I've got to find ways to mix it up, just to keep it fresh. That's why I really enjoyed so much doing those master copies on Monday. So I like the idea of having 1 stream per week, which is, we'll call it conventional. And then another one where we start to mix it up a little. So we're not just doing male, female, full bodies twice a week, every week, week in, week out, week in, week out. I think that we're all going to get bored on some level or another with that. So yeah, so for now, Monday streams are generally going to be, at least for now, right? And you know what I'm like. I tend to change my mind on things sometimes. But I want to keep the Mondays for exploration, right? Whether maybe at some point we'll just do an anatomy study, right? Instead, a master copy of some anatomy. Maybe we'll draw from the Écorché model over there, which I have great photos of. We might even do some animal drawing at some point, right? I really like the idea of getting back. I haven't done animal drawing in what is turned into years, which is kind of shameful. But you know, like I look at my dog now, and I'm like, yeah, I'd really like to be able to just get back into drawing animals, all kinds of animals. You know, it could be an ostrich, or it could be an elephant, or it could be a dog or a cat. So, as I said, without belaboring the point, Mondays, for at least for the foreseeable, we'll use it to focus, get out of our comfort zones. We'll use it as a learning area outside of just drawing the full figure over and over, right? And then Thursdays will be the regular session. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Anyway, with all of that said, we will continue. We will be back next week, and we will be back Monday. It's going to be an interesting one. I'm on my own here at the house next week, with just me and the dog Penny, and so I won't have. Usually, there's someone here while I stream to kind of keep an eye on her, so that could get interesting. But yeah, we'll give it a go. So Monday, feet, I will provide you guys as usual with a selection for us to work from, but also I'm going to provide you with the anatomical breakdown and some of the things I'm looking for, just basic considerations, so we can start to demystify feet and not just look at them as some kind of crazy shaped object that we don't know what to do with. Where you lead, I will follow. Nice one. Well, look, this stream is literally nothing without you guys. Really, you make it what it is, as much as anything else. So anyway, with all of that said, thanks so much for joining me. As usual, I really enjoyed the chat, the drawing. That was not the easiest session. But, you know, the poses weren't easy and the lighting was tricky. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, we'll do this all again next week. In the meantime, Friday tomorrow, and then the weekend. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Whatever you do, wherever you may be. And I'll see you all on Monday. All right, take care now. Cheers. Bye.